What is up, YouTube? Today we're gonna drive an MR2 Spider. So right out of the gate, this car's on stock suspension and it rides really good because the suspension's stock, but the car is so light that it doesn't have hardly any body roll. I mean, you go around a corner and it just goes. Pretty neat driving a car like this that's as light as this one is, because I honestly, like, it really feels like maybe a street bike with four wheels, because, or in the sense that the engine's right behind you. You hear all the engine sounds, which is cool. I like it. And it really feels like it's just you and an engine and some wheels, you know? We'll give it a good old 2-3 pull here after we move off this light. It's not the fastest car in the world, but it's not as slow as that Miata. I mean, it's pretty quick for what it is. Great noises. I love the way it sounds. So this car, so if you're unfamiliar with MR2 Spyders, they have two sets of catalytic converters in their exhaust, and one of the sets of catalytic converters is in the primaries on the header, and they have a bad tendency under, I don't know what condition your exhaust goes into a vacuum situation, but it has a bad tendency to suck catalytic converter material back into the engine. So this car, this is a really low mile car too, I might add. But when he first got this car, they removed the primary cats, or I guess maybe they're the secondary cats, but they removed the cats that are in the primaries on the exhaust header, just as preventative maintenance to keep issues from happening. But that may have woken up the exhaust a little bit. It also has, you know, it's right off the header, so I don't know if you would call it an axle back, being a mid-engine, mid-rear, you know, mid-engine car, but it has a cat back, so the silencer is the aftermarket on it. This is my brother's car, dimly lit garage. Don't forget to check that out. And he's got lots of cool MR2 content. So if you're looking for content on MR2 Spyders, or my dad's got an SW20, so I think there's a little SW20 content on there as well. If you're looking for MR2 content, that's a great place to go. You know, another really, really like profound thing about this car, or a profound thing about the weight of this car, being such a light vehicle, I honestly, so he had aftermarket wheels on it, I think, for a little bit, maybe not 100% sure, probably stock the whole time. And he's had this car for years, and it's amazing to me, the tires are still in great shape. They're probably getting older, so maybe they could be replaced. He may or may not have replaced them, honestly. But the brake pads on the car, never been touched, and they're still like full thick pad material. You know, another byproduct of this car's ultra lightweightness is how easy it is to drive. I think whether you've driven a manual or not, anybody can get into this car and drive it. You almost don't even have to give it gas when you go to accelerate. You kind of just slowly ease the clutch out, and even though this engine doesn't have a ton of power, because the chassis is so light, it has enough torque to kind of pull you forward. So you don't, I don't know, it's a really unique driving experience. The steering is lively, but the steering's very similar to my 135, and the car in general feels it's just good. I like driving it. I could totally see myself owning one of these. The problem with a car like this as fun as it is to drive, having this as your daily could become a difficult thing because it's genuinely just not the most practical car in the world. There's really no space anywhere on it to put stuff. I mean, even the frunk up there is tiny. Like, I don't think you could put a small carry-on bag in it. So, you know, it's got its impracticalities. You could probably fit a carry-on back here, but with these fixed bucket seats that he's got in it, which are primo, by the way, but with these fixed bucket seats, unless you got like a set of the rails that flip up, it'd be really hard to get stuff in the back. And even with these seats, when they flip up, they might get too close to the ceiling. So it might still be unfunctional. It might be nice to have a reclining back race seat just to give you the access to the little amount of space that is back there, because it could make or break using it as a daily. My brother dailies this. He has no issues with it, so it doesn't feel like it needs a ton more power. I mean, maybe like 50 wheel horse more, and this thing would feel insanely fast. And another thing, I don't think this has LSD. LSD was an option on like 2004, 2005 MR2 Spyders. LSD would be probably a big game changer in this too. When I came around that corner turning onto this road here, kind of came around the corner a little quick, it doesn't slide at all, but I could hear the inside wheel spinning a little bit. So maybe an LSD would change the cornering characteristics of the vehicle enough to make it worth it. These rev matches though. It's literally like driving a go-kart, man. A manual transmission go-kart with air conditioning. It's a cool car. I've thought about getting one of these a couple times. If I was in a position where I had a second car, something that was maybe more practical, I could totally see myself driving daily in something like this. But I do need something with a little more space. I mean, I got the 2 dogs, my wife. You know, you pack just the 2 dogs and wife in a little cabin like this is already a lot going on. So then you like start thinking about like, all right, well, like her purse, if I've got my backpack with me, and backpacks and purses, I guess, can get in the back pretty easy, but it just real quick, you realize the space limitations of the vehicle. But again, it blows my mind being on stock suspension, how like flat and just good it feels. I mean, it's nice being on stock suspension because the car is so light, you can still run like a relatively soft spring rate, and it doesn't feel super oversprung or like typical Japanese like sports car feel. So it's got like a good ride in that sense. I'm not sure about this train track. It's pretty smooth. So it's got a good ride in that sense, but it also stays very flat, which you really can't have both of those in a lot of instances unless you're reaching into some cars that are in an entirely different category. It's literally a go-kart. It's so easy to drive, man. It's so easy to drive from like a sporty driving standpoint. It's not snappy. Like a lot of midships get a bad rap for being, you know, if it starts to get loose, you catch traction and they jerk back real hard. I've not ever been in a super sketchy situation like that in this, but he may or may not have, but he's explained to me that it doesn't do that. It's very composed when it starts to let loose. And I've also like right there, for example, it you know, kind of wants to scoot a little bit when you're limiting the grip of the tires. And when it does, it just kind of sits down and just pushes you around the corner. Very similar again to like a go-kart. seats and it's basically stock. He's got this really nice center console that was not stock that gives you this armrest here. And if I owned it, I might even take it a step further and delete the parking brake and just make it like an electronic one with like a little linear actuator, such that I could make my own center console completely, because even for me, and I don't know for him, I mean, the armrest is in a pretty good spot, but it'd be kind of nice if it was a little bit further forward. And if it was a little bit further forward, you could also potentially put cup holders in it. This would be like the perfect car. Not that it's pretty freaking close already. So if you could create a little bit more space, and then if it had like 200 wheel horsepower, maybe 150 pound-feet of torque, this would be the ultimate daily driver. It's kind of already really good, but from a daily drivability standpoint, you might find yourself questioning your life. I love the sound too. It's maybe a little bit too much noise for me, but it's not a bad noise. I don't know if these engines have VVTi, but it'd be kind of cool if you could hear a more distinct VVTi crossover. I'm pretty sure this has single cam VVTi, so like maybe on the intake or the exhaust, I don't know. And when you really wind it out, I think you maybe can kind of hear something. I'll have to chat with Jake about that when we get back and see if he can give us some more informed information on that topic. Cruise through one more fun little section of road, and then I think I'm gonna go give this guy back to its owner. This car's so easy to drive, man. I just had another video thought, part 2 to the MR2 SPYDER video, ZZW30. I don't know, dude. I don't know what the chassis code is on this. I'm feeling like a not cool car guy right now. This may or may not make it in the video. But whatever the SPYDER's chassis code is, but it'd be cool to compare the two. The SW20 is definitely faster. So the SW20's got the 3S GTE. I want to say my dad's is like the 3rd gen 3S GTE. It probably makes high 2s-ish power. It's a turbo 4-cylinder. Well, guys, I forgot to do an outro for my video. So this is me coming to you. I think this is a first. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.